Hi, I'm Noelle. I'm a volunteer at Coeur d'Alene Library, and we are doing a discussion on The Maze Runner by James Dashner, chapters 30 through 45. Yeah. Now, in this chapter, in these series of chapters, the main points that happen is that Thomas is thrown in the slammer, and he and Chuck bond over missing memories. Thomas, after that, is able to go into the maze, and for his first time, he is successful in following everything. The sun has disappeared, and there are no provisions being given. And so everyone's kind of just in confusion about what's going on. Thomas has seen his first griever, and Thomas and Mino figure out that the grievers can leave the maze, which was a shock to them. Once they return, they figure out that Teresa has awakened and has a telepathic link to Thomas. And she tells him that the maze is a code, which he was confused about for a little bit. And that night, the walls didn't close, and everyone is in chaos trying to figure out what is going to happen. And then the grievers come in, and a lot of people have died. Have died. Okay. And then we also learn that they figured out some part of the code of the maze, and there are certain words in the structure of the walls. Okay. I don't know what to do now. Okay.
So,
I have
hey
prepared
everyone.
some questions. Here's Laura.
Hi. Welcome back to Newfangled. Noelle is one of our volunteers here at the Coeur d'Alene Public Library, as she already said, and she is a sophomore in high school at CHS. So she's joining and helping talk about this section of Maze Runner that we're going through. So she's prepared a bunch of different questions for us, and we're going to be posting those on Edmodo for you guys. And then we're also going to be talking about them a little bit and kind of like trying to figure out some of the different things that are going on in this section of the book after I grab my copy of the book. So, why don't you fire away?
Okay, so the first question that, make sure to give no spoilers. If you have read the entire book, no spoilers.
Especially if you've read the entire series, no spoilers from later books.
Okay. So the first question is that Thomas had made a promise to Chuck while he was in the slammer, saying that he would make sure Chuck goes home no matter what. Do you think that Thomas will keep this promise?
We've kind of watched as Chuck and Thomas's relationship has shifted throughout the book, because Thomas really started being really annoyed with Chuck. And I thought that was kind of funny how it's adapted as the novel has progressed. And now it's like Thomas is Chuck's protector, right, when nobody else wants to stand up for him.
I feel like they share a certain understanding and like this bond that comes together when two people who are not really well liked within this area can just like bond over not being well liked.
Do you think there are any other characters in the story that kind of have a similar relationship, or is this kind of a singular thing in the novel?
I think that I don't think Thomas shares a relationship with anyone else like this, but I think that certain other people, maybe people that are still in the maze but we haven't really learned a whole lot about, have this sort of symbiosis relationship. That was it, right? Okay.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I think that I'm really rooting for Chuck because I think he's an adorable character, and he's kind of like this little kid that's trying to blend in with his surroundings, but at the same time, you can tell that he's still such a little kid, and he really just wants to be cared for in the end. So I'm really worried for him, especially now that like the danger of this place is starting to become real for everyone, with the walls not closing and the grievers kind of like doing all their little attacks. Gally on a rampage basically. So I'm really worried for Chuck's future, and I think that his inner, young child is going to make it very hard for him to kind of continue to cope with these different situations. So I'm really hoping that Thomas is able to kind of like stand up for him and be the guy that Chuck needs.
Yeah, I hope that too, but I also hope that since Chuck is so much like a child, that Thomas won't lose his way in trying to find out certain things, or just like won't put Chuck's needs before his own.
Oh yeah.
And try to make him like, I want Thomas to continue seeing the world as he sees it and living in reality.
Yeah, you mean like you want, so like he seems to be one of the people that's most persistent about like, we need to figure out what's going on here, we need to make sure that we're making all the connections and like making sacrifices to make sure that these things happen. You want him to keep that as a priority rather than Chuck shifting his focus to Chuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, I totally see that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that question is up in the Maze Runners small group that we have on the Edmodo site, so make sure you're responding to the questions through that small group rather than the main feed that we have on Edmodo. And Shelby asked a question for everyone, and we can respond to this too, Noelle.
Okay.
How do you think Teresa knew Thomas in their life before the maze, and why do you think, so whatever you think about that, why would you think that way?
I think that Teresa and Thomas are actually really good friends, really close friends. That maybe that they're childhood friends or went to high school or some sort of school together. And what was the question again?
So what makes you think that?
Well, I know that like bonds can form with someone. Like twins have sort of a telepathic link to each other, like when they get hurt or something, and they're really close to each other. So I think either maybe they're such good friends that they've formed a sort of telepathic link.
I kind of agree with that, and that was the first thing that I thought of when they started having this little telepathic conversation. I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly like my friends John and Josh that are twins. Like they can just look at each other and they know exactly what the other one is thinking. So that was my thought, and especially since we haven't really gotten a description of Thomas. Like they don't really have mirrors in the Glade, so he doesn't even know what he looks like, really.
So he could be exactly identical.
So yeah, like those familiar eyes that he keeps talking about, maybe he is just remembering glimpses of his own face and like actually has those exact same eyes. Or maybe he has basically grown up with this person next to him. So like my money is on them being twins.
Yeah.
But I also have no idea because I haven't read further than what we're supposed to read. I read the first book, but this time around I haven't read further. Okay, so we have another question from Shelby too.
Thank you, Shelby.
Who is your favorite character and why? And then she also asked, who is your second favorite character and why?
Okay. Let's see. Well, I really like Newt. I feel like he's like a weird cousin of yours that tries to keep you safe, but is also really fun and knows the rules and is just like overall good. I love him. And he makes Thomas feel like not as bad as some of the other guys do.
Yeah, he's like a good leader in that he knows how to communicate the rules without being like Albie and like strangling people.
And I think my second favorite character is Gally, because he's so crazy. And, like, it's just weird. I like to think of everything from his perspective. Like, how would you feel if this new kid is basically not taking control, but just like, I don't know exactly the way to phrase this, but I just really like the way that, well, I don't necessarily like Gally as a person. I just think that he has interesting character, and
he creates the most interesting conflict
mm-hmm.
in the book.
Yeah.
So I totally see where you're coming from there, but I really hate him. I don't know.
I don't know. I like trash babies, so.
Oh. I would say I agree with you. I like Newt. He's my favorite. Now that we're starting to get to know Teresa a little more, I like how she's logical, but isn't like Thomas, where like every time they have a big breakthrough, he has to like run off into the woods and be on his own. I hate that about Thomas. He's so annoying to me. Because I just find it to be so inconsistent with his character. Like, he wants to know all of these different things, and he asks all of these questions about the maze, and then as soon as they actually come across some giant breakthrough, he's like, I just need to be alone. Like, I can't hear this anymore, and goes off on his own, or, like, does something that, you know, jeopardizes other people.
It's really inconvenient.
It really is. It causes all of these different problems. I mean, like, it saved Albie and Minho, but
that's okay.
Still.
He's still inconvenient.
He still is an inconvenient character.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Teresa is going to start being one of my more favorite characters, because she just is very logical in how she approaches things and has the guts to, like, say what she needs to and then also back it up with, like, a listen to me or I'm going to punch you. I don't know. Okay, and we have another question from Shelby. Thanks, Shelby, for all your awesome questions. What is your opinion on Teresa and Thomas's telepathic messaging?
Okay, at first I was really confused on, like, how it worked and, like, the mechanics of it, because I like to know how things work, but we can't really do that with telepathy. I think that it's a really important part of the plot, and like, later on they can, like, share certain important things at a certain time, like, oh god, like memories or something. Like, I want to know if memories can transfer, if, like, they can push their memories onto each other telepathically, or if something inconvenient comes up, if they can, like, get the other out of a really bad situation with a couple of words.
Yeah, so you want them to be using it for, like, better purposes than what they're using it for now.
Yeah, just, like, small talk.
Yeah, I know, seriously, I guess if I had the ability to be, like, in a telepathic conversation with somebody that I thought knew more about the situation I was in than I did, I would be constantly asking them questions. So that you don't, like, kind of arouse the suspicion of the people around you, but also just because that's a convenient way to communicate. But I do think it's kind of like a gimmicky sort of thing. It's like, oh yeah, well, we can't have anybody be, you know, too suspicious of them, so why don't we just give them telepathy so that they can have conversations and nobody else can be let in on the secrets that they have. You know, so that kind of is iffy for me, especially since nobody else in the group has telepathy. Like, what is so special about them? Which I guess also is its own form of intrigue. It's kind of like, oh,
yeah,
there must be something special.
I'd also be, like, really freaked out, like, the first time I heard someone else's words in my brain, like, their voice. I'd be freaked out, number one, and then I'd want to, like, get them out, because thoughts are sometimes, like, really weird, and you don't want to share those with people. And so, like, I'm wondering if every single thought of theirs goes into the other person's brain, or how they connect and find, like, the midpoint of their consciousnesses, and, like, how they decide when they want to talk to each other.
Yeah, I agree. Like, is it just every really loud thought they have going through to the other person, or is it like they're making the conscious decision to say, like, I want to send this thought to you?
Yeah.
So that is kind of interesting. And then also like exploring the different ideas of like, well, if you're, I don't know, I don't want to give away any spoilers. Okay, so we have another question from Brooke this time, and it looks like Brooke is agreeing with us. Is it just me, or is Thomas really annoying? He just acts so irrationally and seems to make everything harder. Amen.
I love you, Brooke.
Yeah, because that is exactly what we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally 100% true. I think that Thomas is really making things harder on himself when he could be doing so much to like help the situation that they're in. Not that he hasn't helped, but his help is very
Iffy.
whiny.
Mm-hmm. He's a whiny character.
Whiny person.
Mm. But, like, he could be getting so much done in the time where he's sitting by himself in the woods. And,
Right?
like, he could be doing so much to help other people and to, like, figure out more of the map code. But he's just sitting in the woods, doing his thing,
Yeah.
whining.
I mean, like, even if it isn't something directly relating to helping solve the maze, like, he could be out picking fruit trees.
Mm-hmm.
He could be out, I don't know, helping, hopefully not slaughter a pig, but I mean, like, these are things that he could be doing to help the entire group, but he doesn't see the value in, like, those menial tasks. I don't know. So
He's only there for big plots.
yeah, he's only there for the plot solving. Okay, we have a couple. Oh, Megan agrees. Everybody agrees. It looks like Megan and Shelby both agree that he's pretty annoying when we mention it.
Mm-hmm.
But it also makes him seem kind of heroic when he does all of these like kind of irrational things and
Right.
then has to sort out of the situation. Okay. What's our next question, Noelle?
Okay. Our next question is, in Chapter 31, we learn from Albie's memories that Thomas was helping the creators. How do you think the other boys would react if this information got out to them? I honestly think that they would kill Thomas.
Really? You think they'd go that far?
If he was one of the catalysts to having everyone being thrown in the maze, I don't know, but I think I'd kill Thomas.
Ugh, especially if you didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Like, Albie and Gally seem to have these horrible memories that are like, I never want to leave this place.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, darn you for trying to get us out of here. So, like, those are the kind of reactions that they've had after going through the changing.
Especially if Gally figured it out, like,
Yeah.
he would kill Thomas.
Oh, for sure. I have no doubts about that. But I don't know if they would go that far. I don't know that they would kill him themselves,
Maybe
per
just
se.
put
Like,
him
not
out
like
in the
bang,
maze.
but yeah, probably, like, banish him.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would probably be what happened.
Yeah.
Even with Albie, like, if Albie were saying, like, no, we have to keep him alive.
So we can get more information out of him.
Yeah. I definitely think it would not be a good situation for Thomas if everyone were to find out. Why do you think Albie is keeping this information secret?
I think he's keeping this information secret so he can... Because he doesn't have, like, all of his memories back, does he?
For Albie? No, he just
Yeah.
has, like, little glimpses.
Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So maybe he's waiting to get more memories back so he can figure out what's going on and how Thomas plays in with all of this.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. It's just, like, such a shady situation that Albie is, like, putting out all of these little half sentences and saying, like, guard the maps and, you know, only wants to speak with Thomas.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like if they were to just work together and share all of this information and glimpses that they have, they might be getting somewhere faster than what they're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
Brooke is really agreeing with us today. She says, another thing, why does Thomas spend all of his time in the woods? There are so many different things that are actually helpful to the I think you're, like, typing these while we're actually talking about them, so then they pop up, and I'm like, oh, that's what we just talked about. That's awesome. So we're apparently not the only ones that are, like, thinking these different things. I have a laptop in my lap. She's not just, like, staring at the ground.
Yeah. I wonder how big the woods is. Like, how small is it?
Yeah, I want to, because okay, they described the glade in the beginning of the book, and wasn't it like the size of a couple of football fields?
Yeah, that's like 100 yards.
Yeah, but like, how do you have a woods in that small
I don't know.
of a space?
Like, they've got a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, like, it takes a big amount of space to have like cows and like animals to the extent that they have, and also like fruit trees. Those take up a ton of space too. And then they have to have sleeping room for all of these like mass numbers of boys and one girl.
And these people aren't like finding Thomas all that often in the woods. Like, it has to be secluded enough to where he can hide.
Yeah. And I mean, like, it talks about like hearing them crashing through the woods before he's actually able to see them, so it has to be deep enough of a tree area that they can like hide in there. But
Maybe it's just all woods. Or maybe he just sits up in a tree.
maybe he just like wraps
house.
the ivy around himself in like a little leafy blanket. Okay, so what's our next question?
Okay. Our next question is, how do you guys feel about Teresa? And how do you feel about the fact that she is the only girl in a maze full of guys? That was maybe a pun? I don't know.
Go ahead.
Okay.
That's all you.
I really like Teresa. She's, I feel like she can get Thomas out of the woods.
Yeah, both literally and metaphorically.
Oh, that was a really bad pun.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible.
She seems to keep her head in really crazy situations and doesn't feel the need to just like go off and do her own thing. Like, she's there when you need her, which I think is really useful. And
It's more than you can say about Thomas right now.
I like the fact that she's the only girl in a maze full of guys, because like she gives a different outlook on the situation than other guys will. Because like they need our thoughts and just like how to make decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the questions I had for them a couple weeks ago was, how would this book be different if it was written with a maze full of girls and it was one guy that had come up in the box? Do you think that would change the novel?
I think that would change so much.
What do you think would change? Like, how do you think it would be different?
Oh, I think they would get out of that maze so much quicker.
Why? Why do you think they would get out quicker?
Because, like, when, I don't know about you guys, but, like, when I'm motivated to do something, I'm motivated. And, like, I want to do it as quickly as possible. Also, I feel like these girls would, like, sure, there would be some conflict between them, but I feel like they would put aside their differences to help for the greater good.
So you think girls work in groups differently than guys do?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Do you think they would have developed this same system of, like, work sharing that they have right now, like where you go around and you try all the different careers and, like, you are stuck with one career regardless of whether you like it, or do you think there would have been like a different way they had developed things?
I feel like people would have switched around a lot, because doing one task every single day becomes very monotonous, and I like to switch up my tasks, so I feel like there would be like a rotation, like every single week you have a different task or something.
Yeah. Kind of like a different structure to that. I can totally see that.
Mm-hmm.
It definitely would be a very different book
Right.
if it was about a group of girls rather than a group of guys. It's kind of funny to me because I read this book and I think of Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, I was just talking about that
Yeah.
with my friends. Like, how would it differ? And I was like, they'd be off that island so much quicker.
Yeah, so Lord of the Flies, if you haven't read it, it is by, I think it's William Golding is the author's name. And it's about this plane full of boys. I think it's a plane.
It is a plane.
Yeah, it's a plane. And they crash land in the ocean outside an island. And it's a desert island. And these boys wash ashore. And they have no adult supervision. There's no adult presence whatsoever. And they kind of have to form their own society, much like what's happening in the maze. But not so much, in the, like, maniacal way where like somebody has put them in the maze, like they have faced a disaster and now they are stuck there.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to organize themselves into their own society, and it ends up going crazy.
Don't people get killed?
People die.
Yeah.
Animals die. Things die. And it doesn't turn out well for a lot of people. So if you do have an interest in kind of like the survival story of the Maze Runner, definitely look forward to reading Lord of the Flies when you're in high school, because that'll be one of the books that's assigned to you. It's phenomenal, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, usually you get assigned a book in school and you're like, I don't want to read this. But Lord of the Flies, look forward to that one. It's really good.
It's really
Okay. So we have time for maybe one more question.
okay.
And then we have a couple of announcements to make.
Okay. Okay. We'll do my last question.
Okay.
Thomas has just made a plan in his head to get stung by one of the grievers to get his memories back. Do you think his plan will succeed in getting his memories back? And would it be worth going through the changes? And if so, do you think that it will have any negative repercussions?
So that's a big question.
Oops.
Oh, no, that's a really good question. But also, like, one thing that I am struck by with this question is, like, how much pain is worth getting back the little glimpses of memory that, like, Albie and Gally have gotten.
Right.
Like, obviously, Gally gained back some of his memories, but he can't remember who Thomas is. And he can't remember any specifics about, like, the people that he used to live with before he came to the maze. So, like, he has little touches of memory here and there, but, like, not a ton. And same with Albie. Like, Albie knows all of these little cryptic messages and says, like, protect the maps and all of those different things, but he obviously didn't get back all of his memories. So is it really worth Thomas going through the pain of the changing in order to gain back slight glimpses of memory? So go ahead and respond to that question on Edmodo. What do you think? Like, what level of pain would you be willing to endure for scraps?
Honestly, probably not a lot. I would just be worried about getting memories back that have absolutely no meaning to you whatsoever. It's like you playing on the playground when you're 12.
Yeah. Or like, I enjoy pepperoni pizza.
Or my middle name is
Sean.
Or like just memories that you don't need in this current situation that would just clutter your brain even more and get in your way from the big picture. Like, I think Thomas, it's like noble-ish that he wants to do this, but it's also not thought out very well. And also, what if he dies?
Right.
That's a big part of it.
Also, you have to take into account, like, they've stopped getting deliveries from the box, so, like, no more of the serum is coming.
If he, like, is stung and it gets infected or something, he's gonna go by.
Be in big trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Brooke says the same thing.
He could get stung on his hand, and if it gets infected, you can just amputate it.
Then he's going to be a real help to everyone. I don't know that I'd want people that are titled Med Jacks to be, like, amputating one of my limbs. I'm sorry, nobody that doesn't have the title doctor is going to be amputating one of my hands.
I don't think anybody in this glade has the title of doctor.
I don't think anybody does either. That's why they're Med Jacks. Okay, so we have a couple of announcements. Thank you, Noelle, for hosting our chat today and for joining us. We have a couple of announcements for what's going on next week. Hopefully you guys have seen the flyer that we posted on the Edmodo site. We're watching the movie next week.
Yay!
And we're watching the movie for free at Hidden Discount Cinemas. So our meeting next Thursday is not going to be at 4:30, which is our normal time. We are going to have 2 potential showing times that you can come to at the Hidden Discount Cinemas. One will be at 4 o'clock and one will be at 7 o'clock. The Hidden Discount Cinema is the one that's around the backside of the Prairie Shopping Center, so by Albertsons, and then also just kitty corner from the Hayden Public Library. So if you know where the Hayden Public Library is, you know where the Hayden Discount Cinemas are, just about. You'll be able to get there very easily from the Hayden Public Library. And just so you know, families And so your family and your friends are welcome to join you too. We'll have sign-ups for Newfangled there, so if you have any friends that you think would really enjoy this book club, and they're in middle school and they want to become involved in something like this, bring them along. They can come watch the movie for free, and then we'll do short discussions that talk about the difference between the book and the movie after the showing is over, and they'll be able to sign up then and there. And we also have leftover copies of The Maze Runner that we can give out for free. So that's really exciting. One other announcement for you guys. I always go over time. I'm so sorry. We are changing the format of our book distribution a little bit. So it used to be that you got a copy of the next book when you came to the face-to-face meeting at the end of the month. Right now, that is not what we are doing. So one other thing. In order to get a copy of next month's book, which is The Princess Bride, which I'm so excited to talk about and then watch the movie for, you have to respond to the final Maze Runner question that is posted on Edmodo. It should come up as an assignment that you have on your Edmodo page. All you have to do is respond to that assignment with a brief message, a brief response, and then you'll get added to the list of names that are going to receive a copy of next month's book. If you don't respond to that question, and you don't come to the face-to-face meeting, then you're not going to get a copy of the book. And it's not and. Just make sure you respond to the question. You'll get a copy of the book, and you'll be all good to go for The Princess Bride next month. It's one of my all-time favorite films. I am so excited because I've never read the book before. It's going to be awesome. Okay, so we will hopefully see you next Thursday, the 28th, at the Hayden Discount Cinemas. Remember, next Friday is a day off from school for you Coeur d'Alene public school kids. So you don't have to worry about staying out late and having to finish up homework for the following day. You'll have plenty of time to be able to go to the showing, get home, and it should be a good time. Hope to see you guys there. Thanks for joining us.
Bye.
Bye.